Okie dokie. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our first authors panel for our book Between Earth and Eternity. I'm so excited. I've got so much good feedback from my friends on Facebook and some on LinkedIn, and everyone's messaging me about how they love our book cover. They're like, the colors are so beautiful, and I just love the book cover. So I said, I hope they're gonna like the book as much as they like the cover, because the content is more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I would say equally so. And I think reading back on some of the chapters and reflecting on what you guys have written, it does feel like the cover. It feels light, it feels fun
Mm.
a little bit, it feels um engaging, it feels calming, soothing. You get the good feelings like, okay, I shouldn't be afraid of these big topics. Because when we look at a big topic like the soul's journey, it seems so out of reach to understand, to think about, to talk about, to engage in conversation about. It seems so big. But when I see it broken down into different chapters, explained with stories and personal experiences, it doesn't feel that big and scary anymore. It's just tiny pieces of the puzzle all coming together and in a beautiful way. There's so much synchronicities, actually. As you guys read the chapters, you'll see that. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited for people to finally read it and give their feedback. What are you guys most looking forward to?
Reading everyone else's chapters. I haven't done that yet.
Yes.
I'm exhausted
Yes,
with
I
my own,
agree.
but hearing everyone else's, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's there for the taking. I mean, you guys have
Absolutely.
access to the group submissions folder. You can go and snoop around, you know.
I did that a little bit.
Yeah? So what did you find?
I've only read three so far, but I've been really interested. It's interesting how everybody's writing style is so different,
Yes.
and I've already seen some what you're talking about, some similarities or themes kind of popping out naturally because there's I think a collective interest in understanding um, what this giant field of the subconscious realm is. So it seems like we do tend to go to some certain themes frequently, like love, collective interests in caring for one another and trust.
Mm,
That's cool.
yeah.
What are some of
I
the
think
some of the things you've read
I,
so far that you've sorry, Ellen, to cut you off. I think there's a lag on my side.
that's okay.
Do you want to go?
I was going to say that I think it's not surprising to me that there are what do you call these connections among the chapters and surely among the authors, if not in a physical realm, in the spiritual realms, because you approached it intuitively. I mean, there's a divine choreography in terms of bringing the authors in. And so, it won't surprise me to see that spirit is building structures or deepening concepts and things like that strategically among the chapters, that there's something much greater being birthed here, and one can only really perceive it when the final product is available. So I haven't had a chance to snoop on y'all. And, when does the book come out? May what?
May 26th for the ebook, and then
Mhm.
a week later for the paperback, and a week later for the hardback.
Perfect. Yeah, I can't wait to read everyone's chapters. I'm so
Me
excited about
too.
that.
I actually had a channeling session with Katish in this week, earlier in the week, and then my question was related to like the book. And exactly what you said, Ellen, came out in the channeling about how it was very strategic, the people that came together and the stories that are being shared, and exactly what you said about a structure being built. That's how they explained it. Like, um, I don't know how exactly to explain what they were saying, but it's like there's something being built that's going to be used in other ways, and this is a part of that, kind of.
Hmm.
Oh,
In my
wow.
reading with her, it was so interesting because she said that I would benefit from reading everybody else's work, and that would be part of my future growth. And I'm sure it's not only true for me, but it's true for like everybody to get like different pieces of the puzzle, different perspectives. So it's for
Yes.
our own benefit as well as for everyone else to fill in those pieces of the puzzle.
I too had a reading with her, and
Mhm.
um, my reading was mainly how I'm here to give a different perspective on people's perception about dragons, because my chapter is infused with dragon energy. So I can't wait to hear when y'all start reading where you feel the energy in your body. And many of us have this ideology about dragons, and from mythological lore, that they're just here for war. They're just here for, to be enslaved, to be trapped. That's what all of our TV shows have shown. But they're so much more than that. They're about love. They're compassionate. They're both the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And so I'm here to share that and give people a new perspective on dragons. So my channeling session with Katish was wonderful.
Oh, that's so exciting. I love reading about the dragons and the all the things that you share about. It's all new to me, but I'm learning more and more about it. And I came across something, what was it? It was a YouTube channel, but I don't remember what the topic was. And the lady that was doing the the video, she was channeling different energies. And one of the energies she channeled was a dragon energy. I think it was called Tiamat or something like that. And she was describing how dragons are seen as fierce, like you were explaining, and they, vicious and that kind of thing. But that is not always the case. Like that viciousness or that yes, on a one end, it
Mm-hmm.
could be like you could be projecting what you feel they are doing, but in the other end, it could be they kind of like how they channel or how they want to express unconditional love. Like this, there's different ways of expressing unconditional love. It doesn't just look in one way. And so it was interesting when I was watching that. I was thinking about you.
I I have given a
Yes.
session. It's an ascended master, but he's a Skywalker and he's an amazing being. So I hear what you're saying about the big energies that they have, and they are so ancient, but their lifespans as well. It spans so many different things, and they've been here for a while. So I look forward to hearing, what your experience is and versus what mine was giving him a session. And giving him a session was like I had to hold on for my dear life because he could just flash into so many lives and he could see all of them, just trying to keep him centered in one so we could just get a little bit of information.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I look
Oh yeah,
forward to reading about yours.
they're creation in itself, so
Yeah.
they've been around forever.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So I
It's
have
beautiful.
to say, Aiden's his chapter about dragons really changed. And I only read Aiden's chapter on Sunday, so what's that been? 7 days, 6 days, and I had not one but two sessions this week where dragons came in, and it was so funny because I actually wrote to Aiden. I was like, you know what? I was pretty skeptical about this dragon business. And for me, I had a giant lesson this week. But it started with Aiden's chapter where I read his chapter and I was like, wow, I'm convinced. I'm so convinced I need to reach out to Aiden and let him know. So I did that. And what you said, actually, you mentioned where do you feel it in your body? You were curious if I noticed it, and I completely noticed it. And I had to think back to where I felt it. But it's very interesting to notice what you notice while you're reading
Mm-hmm.
that chapter. And then my following two clients, having dragon experiences themselves, it really was a message to me from my higher self saying, just stop being a jerk about this dragon stuff, okay? So so thank you. I'm more open now.
But I
My
was also
pleasure.
thinking, isn't that also, I think, the reason why you said that, Leanne, that would benefit from reading each other's chapters? Because until you have a vibrational template awareness of something, you will not be able to actually, it's very difficult to give a session. I find that the more I read certain things, especially because I'm very deep into the esoteric information. Like the more I read stuff that I don't even know why I'm reading, I don't even understand half of the stuff. And Lord and behold, I'll get a client like that because I think now their higher self says, oh, yes, now you can handle a session with me because you'll be able to identify what my person is about, you know? So I think that's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Very. Yeah, we sort of filter, I think we channel in different degrees, and we filter out what we get based on our experience and what we're capable of understanding. And so reading about everybody else's perspective just opens it up, like just opens up that filtering system to like more things. And I think that's almost an infinite field of possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the
Mind-boggling.
feedback that I've gotten from one of my beta readers, so she is pretty into these topics. So she's only on my list of early readers because she loves reading anything she can get her hands on related to all these topics. She's like, I want to read everything. So she's always on my list and she's always giving me feedback early. And she said that she learned so many new things based on like her understanding of things, went deeper because of some of the chapters that she's read. I didn't ask her specifically which ones they were, but it was in an email she sent. She said she definitely learned more deeper into the topics. She said that her knowledge was definitely challenged. Like she had to open up her mind into some of the things that were being said and described and taught about because she was a little bit skeptical, like you were saying, Jen, or she was a little bit like, yeah, I don't know how that would work. I don't know if I believe that really. So her beliefs were definitely being challenged. And she was also like, realizing how much she doesn't know. And that has been a theme for me too, not just working on this book, but also as I'm writing the introduction and I'm looking at certain things that I want to share for readers. I'm realizing more and more about how much we don't know more than what we do know, right? Because in these chapters, we all are saying this is what we do know, these are our experiences based on, clients, this is what we can say. But I'm feeling I'm not going to write an actual chapter, but in my quote unquote chapter, it's kind of like, well, what don't we know? This is what we do know, but what don't we know? We don't know so much. So all of this could basically just say this is all just, speculation, really, because I don't know for a fact that when I die, I'm going to experience this, or if I have another opportunity for, I don't know, another lifetime that I will experience that, or I don't know anything. I could just be hallucinating all of this. I don't even know that, you know? So it's like, yes, I read everything and I'm in awe of it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to get hung up on any one thing because there's so much that's changing and that's dynamic. And we are in this lucid system of time and space, and everything is just so fluid that you cannot say anything is set in stone, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at.
So, Amira, I think the purpose of our book, as you stated, was to dispel a lot of that fear about the unknown and the possibilities and stuff. And I know certainly from my point of view, I I do have a sense of like a very strong felt sense of more security in my ability to choose better. And I wouldn't say a sense of control, but a sense of choice about what I want to experience. And including the afterlife, like I feel that I have probably more control and choice in that space because it is a love space and I'm going to choose love things, things that vibrate at a love frequency or more. Like I feel like I'm personally done with like learning through pain and learning through some of the more negative experiences, just out of choice. And I'm not saying all aspects of me and all focuses of consciousness of me, because I exist in parallel places and other planes, but this version of me is done with that. And this version of me wants to move through joy and no fear. Like, I don't feel that that serves any purpose for me. But maybe there's other versions of me that aren't there yet or are experiencing different things. But the version of me that's writing this book is trying to convey that there is nothing to fear. There is only, if you're open to it, there's only love frequencies available.
Yeah.
If that's what you're choosing, that's all you see, that's all you get.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I mean?
love that. I love that. And specifically what you said about choosing not to experience the lessons through hardship and fear. And
Yeah, and
we
through
don't have to
pain.
do that. And that's one of the lessons, lesson, yes, but one of the things that I had to learn, or kind of like a belief that I've had to debunk for my own self, thinking lessons need to be painful. They don't. They don't. If I'm choosing it to be painful for whatever reason and it's a benefit to me, then by all means, but I can learn something the same way without it being painful. Like I can get the same outcome and the same benefit without choosing a painful, hard, difficult life or difficult lessons, and I'm not saying by any means that people who are having difficult lives are, there's nothing wrong with choosing that experience. All experiences are
Ah, yeah.
equally valid and valued. It's just preference, right?
Mm.
Living my life and living this life, I know based on my own experiences that I prefer learning my lessons, like you said, through joy and love
Yeah,
and those
yeah.
positive, high vibrational feelings.
Yeah, I just want to add there about the no judgment thing. I have no judgment for that because my life has been very hard. So my story is about learning through pain, and I'm done with it. So I have no judgment for that. It's not like I'm judging that. That's my story, That's the road I've walked.
Yeah.
Um, but it is a shift in consciousness to move out of victimhood into higher states of consciousness where you can learn through joy. And you can't do that until you've resolved all that pain and faced
Yeah.
that pain and acknowledged that pain and spoken to that pain and everything. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's not a judgment, it's just a different place that you're at and at different times.
Yes.
But definitely knowing that it's possible to move out of that state and that's the reward for dealing with all the negative karmic things is you need to know there's a reward at the end, right? Because it's difficult. It's a difficult path to walk.
And doing it
Also,
without guilt too, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
I've also had to uncover that. I felt back then guilty for wanting to let go of that victim narrative and let go of living a difficult, hard life and let go of these labels I put on myself. And, I'm just this and I'm just that. I'm not. And speaking to others who are maybe not there yet, who are still resonating a little bit with the victim narrative or who are still navigating the lower frequency things in their lives and they're still getting to a place where they can look at those things honestly. I did
Mm.
feel guilty that I wanted something else, that I wanted to resonate only with positive, high vibrational things, because that meant that I would maybe engage less with someone who was, more on the victim
Yeah.
vibration or something like that.
I look at it differently. I feel like it's one of the greatest affirmations that I've learned is the one from Monroe, which says that equal or greater energies to mine. At some point, you have to realize that each soul has its own lesson. And if they are learning, if their ascension is through polarity to a lower vibration of negativity, then that experience is valid in itself, but it's just not mine. And what the universe does, which is amazing, is that it will find someone willing to engage with them at that level, but I don't necessarily have to because I'm choosing different. And also, the other thing I learned is that I had no time to worry about someone else because I had to deal with my own levels of self. Like when I was doing the Mahatma cosmic integrations. It wasn't anyone else fighting me. It was my other selves fighting me because not all of them wanted to go back wanted to ascend and to go back to source or whatever. They chose separation for a reason. So it was almost as if I was fighting myself. And the message I got, I remember being deep in meditation, was like, focus on levels of selves that are aligned with your current vibration. And then let those that want to return to return. So this is just me, 362 levels off me. And if we are at 3, when do I have space to think, okay, I am feeling bad because this person is at whatever they're at? I don't have the time. And I know it might sound very cold, but I've also realized that because Earth comes with a lot of emotions and feelings and stuff like that. Sometimes in advancement of the souls, you have to pack those aside and see what you have to do for your own growth. And coming back here is not an option. I mean, my poor family, I posted the other day that enjoy me now. I've canceled all contracts. I've canceled all contracts. If you were the grass and I was the frost that killed you, I am sorry. I release you. I forgive me because I'm not coming back because I killed you, because I was the frost and you were the grass. That's a level. And trust me, when I did that, when the energy returned, I couldn't work for 2 days. So, and I'm very clear that not even me, we are not doing this again. So it has to shift to a higher density. Um, I have fought with beings at so many levels, even beings that manage this reality, about the templates of humans who have the idea of coming to do something, and then we all fall into this negativity. So no, IMA is like, nope, we're not, you know.
Yeah,
So
that's a
that's
Reading
my
the
wonderful way of
take.
fine
putting it.
print.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leanne, you wanted
I-
to say something?
Oh no, I was saying like I feel that. Like I'm
mm,
also feeling like I'm done with this.
mhm,
Yeah,
I want to
that's a
make sure I
wonderful way
cancel
of
all those
putting it.
contracts. Yeah,
mm,
I'm gonna do that hard work. I'm just
mhm,
gonna put in the hours and make that work be done and
mhm.
face it because it is hard. When people come back, they fall into the same negativity again, like you were saying. And
Yeah,
it's patterns after patterns after
yeah,
patterns, and there's nothing to be gained from that.
yeah,
Forgive and release and
yeah,
break the contract, move on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And part of it is because the body remembers and
Yeah.
the ego is of this dimension. So, and if the brain is in charge and the mind and the heart are not integrated enough to take over, then I think spirit calls it a failed life. When
Mhm.
someone is basically led by the mental body, pure mind, pure brain, because brain is the machine, the mind, which is non-local, and the brain haven't integrated to engage to to make you think, oh wait, let me do something different. Let me stop thinking from this machine and let me start thinking from my heart. So
If I
it's yeah.
if I can add to that, I think
Mm,
failure is the biggest thing that drives most people, especially when they're stuck in that
mhm,
negative cycle. Because we get into that, you either win or lose. And if everything is
mhm,
always a competition and you're
mhm,
always viewing failure as just so bad,
mhm,
remove failure altogether
mhm,
because there's
mhm,
never failure. You
mhm,
don't fail.
mhm.
Everything is a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think people just get stuck in that, oh, I didn't win. I
Mhm,
lost.
mhm.
Now I got to do better. So then they're hard on themselves and they're
Or they
harder on
set up
themselves than anyone else.
or they set up another scenario to come back and repeat it.
Hmm.
These lives were
Yep.
supposed to be lived once, and now we are at 100 iterations of the same thing to learn the
Hmm.
same lessons. I think
Yep.
that's where I'm like, no, come on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a no. But people think they can do better. Like in their hearts, they're like, but I love that person. I can do better. I like
Mm-hmm.
they're coming from a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I can do better, but they're
Mm-hmm.
speaking from the love space, from
Mm-hmm.
the other side there. As soon as they come back into this density, it's like, no, they can't do
Mm-hmm.
better.
Yeah.
Here we
But
go again.
I've given sessions to one of the advanced being that I I read a lot and I couldn't keep up with what they were talking about. That's how advanced they were. But they, in preparation to come to Earth, they were in such, if you could imagine, spirit was in eagle. Like, oh man, I'm so advanced, I will remember. What is Earth? So they came in as a team, and guess what? They forgot, but they were still doing the work, but they forgot. And then what was interesting to me is that their higher self, based on who they are, was intimidated by them. So it's almost like you are the higher self to Jesus. And you're just like, oh my goodness, what can I tell you? You know everything. So the higher self was not functioning, and so then we had to be like, well, we need to fire the higher self and get one that is equipped. So we do make plans or we don't make plans. And sometimes we underestimate at how dense the material world is, and I mean, like I have told my guides, dare you lose me. I told my higher self, like, dare you lose me? Do you have a tracker on me? Like, because some higher selves don't even know where their people are. I'm like, are you tracking me? Do you know where I am? I'm like, and also, I also say, are you tracking all my family members? Because what happens is that if your higher self is not engaged, guess what happens? You, whose higher self is awake, will have to help that person because their higher self is not engaged.
That's
So
crazy. I've never
there's
heard that before.
there are
So
so many
how do you
levels.
know? What are the symptoms that you are not engaged with your higher self? Like what could that look like
And
physically,
looping
mentally,
negativity.
emotionally?
The negativity you see with the person where you're like, come on, get out of this, and they cannot. And
Okay.
because the
So
wheel cannot do it.
does that mean that the higher self is trying to engage, but the person is so low in the current vibration that they cannot connect? Or
The
does it
higher
mean
self,
that there
mhm.
isn't an actual connection between the higher self and the person right now because of maybe I don't want to use circumstances, but maybe the state of their lives or whatever it may be. Like what determines the break in that connection that is like you were saying, the higher self is, are you tracking me? Are you making sure that you have me?
A
You
million
know?
iterations of reincarnation, and you don't listen and you don't follow your intuition. And some higher selves give up because they can only
Whoa.
reach out to you for so long. And also because you might be a hybrid and maybe you're on a secret mission. So the one has hidden you and the other one doesn't know where you are. I've come across those as well. So it's like sometimes we can say, oh, this person is not listening. How come they cannot say that? But sometimes it's just that their higher self doesn't know where they are. So I ping the higher selves of people. I think we discussed it in when we talked about, like, when I go into space, sometimes I just say, oh, I'm here. My higher self and oversoul can see me. So, oh, can you see who else is in here who's lost? Because so that that field opens and that their higher selves can be like, oh, there's my person, or there's my person. Because at some point, like, I mean, I've come across angelic higher selves crying because you haven't been listening, and they're just done, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. They can recall you, but sometimes your mission is systems or consciousness mechanics. You affect the grid, right? So even if you're in that low state, you're still doing the work though. But you as a personality are so low though. And
Mm.
that's why I fight with the creators or the managers of these densities or matrix, that you cannot use a person for their mechanics of what their consciousness can do, but then they are in pure suffering,
Mm.
so there's that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, because I was just gonna say to you, what if the circumstances is pure suffering? Because on the earth realm, if your
Mhm.
circumstances is suffering, all you are concerned about is survival. I was
Mhm.
there where all I
Mhm.
think about daily is survival.
Mhm.
How am I going to eat today? What am I going to
Mhm.
do? Whether it be, physical survival, a roof over my head, food in my belly, or if it's like, when you are in an emotional situation where maybe you're in an abusive relationship, where all you do is think negative thoughts all day. Like there
But
isn't that,
we
you
do
know?
set up ourselves exit. whether it's an exit plan or an exit or just an engagement with another person that might disturb your field just a bit to allow you to remember,
And you know
to
what's funny you
quieten.
say that? It's funny
Mhm,
you say that because when I was in that situation, there's certain moments, there's a lot of things I don't remember, and I think I blocked them out, intentionally. But there are
mhm,
few moments I do remember. One moment I specifically remember, I was at the lowest of the lowest
mhm,
in my life. I was being evicted from my apartment. I had no
mhm,
money. I had to shut down my business. Because my business was making no money. I was couldn't focus on my business because I was consumed by this abusive relationship I was in. And it was I was so I had so much of like a lack of self-love, a lack of self-value. I had no intention of fixing myself or my own well-being. I was just giving, hoping that this person would eventually, be satisfied, which obviously never happened. I remember when I was leaving my apartment on that morning, I had a whiteboard in my bedroom, and on my whiteboard, I wrote, "Know your worth." And I've never written that before. It wasn't even in my handwriting when I look back on it. And I moved and I did all the things. And when I found that whiteboard again, some, months later, the writing was still on that whiteboard, "Know your worth." And I was like, oh, that's interesting because at that moment, I didn't know it at the time, but at that moment, I was kind of like trying to reach myself, reminding myself. And there were many moments like that where I brushed it over. I didn't pay attention. I was just, la di da, whatever. And now I can see how those things, if I listened sooner, I would have saved myself a lot of suffering.
yeah,
But I had to go through those motions and I had to
yeah,
find a different way, which
mhm,
obviously I did.
yeah,
But it had to come through other means. Like I wasn't
yeah,
ready at that time. I
yeah,
did set up those exit points and those
mhm,
checkpoints. I did set it up, but I
yeah,
wasn't ready to take them at that
yeah,
time. I
yeah,
hadn't done enough work yet on myself.
yeah. But it's also what you're talking about is what my consciousness, the quantum being says that's the human inching forward. Like, because you were using your brain, not your mind. You're using your brain to try and figure things out instead of using your total self, which would have allowed you to quantum leap and come to this realization quicker. So when
Mm.
we use our total being of what we are, just our feelings are sitting in our body, it allows us to leap forward. But when we start using the brain, then it wants to take us through linear time. And so the time and the hardships. But you could just also decide that enough. Wake
But
up
we
one
also
day and say,
learned, yeah,
mhm,
sorry, Emma. Also learned
yeah,
through pain in the beginning. Like we kind of
mhm,
have to do that in the beginning.
mhm,
Like I've had to, I think we all do. I don't know who
mhm,
hasn't, but
mhm,
everybody I know has had to.
mhm,
And I think it's a process, a progression.
mhm,
And then at some point you realize, nah, no more
mhm,
of that. But
yeah,
some people have to go through quite a lot of that before they reach that point, you know?
yeah,
It's like, no, I'm going to find another way to do
yeah.
this. Yeah.
One of the questions
One
that
thing
I
I
had was an ex. He asked me, he's like, why do you like playing victim? And I was
Mhm.
telling him a whole dysfunctional story of childhood, and I was crying. And, in my eyes, something was done to me, but he was telling me that I was playing victim. I remember this shock and horror. Even after, and then after we broke up, it stayed in my mind like, do I play victim? And that sparked a whole thing where I started doing research on that. And that was part of the steps that I started taking in awakening. Like it was a painful moment, but it was also another exit of a person I'd put to help me out of whatever it was. And there are so many of those.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of what you guys are sharing underscores for me the utility of the disruption as a
Mhm.
sacred intervention by spirit
Mhm.
and dissolution,
Mhm.
just dismantling.
Mhm.
And, the dark night of the soul that so many healers and intuitives have and that collectively we're going through at the moment has the capacity within it to rearrange your very nature and challenge the principles on which you operate, like the fundamental principles, the defining concepts in your cosmology, and how you even feel your body, how you sense yourself as an individual, and as a part of the collective. And I touch on that some in my chapter because uh, part of what it talks about is finding liberation in yourself as part of a lineage, or collective intertwined lineages. How do you find liberation? Like, how do you approach your role as in terms of soul agreements that you've made, your role as a healer? Like, what responsibilities do you have to others, and ultimately what responsibilities do you have to yourself, and finding like liberation within that. But also understanding where spirit is intervening or choreographing things to move you forward, even if that's small, if it's not a big kind of quantum leap, just tiny movements forward, and recognizing where signs are. And I have in there examples of times where spirit has been subtle, and other times where spirit will literally put a bus, like a literal bus, in front of my face with the whole side painted. Like, we are here, as I was sitting there going, where are you? Intervening, like, now, you guys are late. I need your help now. I'm in crisis. And they'll run a bus in front of me, and the side's like painted with a message. So sometimes they will really yell. But we don't hear it unless we take that sacred pause. And so I think there's, um, even in the midst of the density, because we do sign up for quite a lot of density, and I don't ever want to come across as one who endorses spiritual bypassing. Like, the earth is a dense realm. If we didn't want to learn through density, we probably would not be sending part of our essence to incarnate in this realm right now. Even if the journey is to transcend the density is still a teacher for you. So where is the grace in the density? How do we open up to receive the support, which is actually really abundant? But we have to, I find sometimes my messages to spirit probably don't transmit very well because there's a lot of ego in it. Or I'm identifying as a victim, like Aima mentioned, or, I'm not in a really true, authentic place. And so maybe they see me hollering or side-eyeing my guides, like, what did you guys even think putting me in this situation? But other times I just really come to center, and I'm like, y'all, I don't know how to move forward right now, and I'm not
I
being loud, I'm just
scream.
being true.
I scream at them. Like, I was in so much pain one day, and I realized that an angelic higher self was trapped somewhere. And basically, the vision I got is like wherever he was, they couldn't touch him because it would lead to a war or something. But I could, because I have free will. So I just felt like someone put a gigantic wing on my, I was like on my shoulder, and I couldn't do this. And of course, I know most women through perimenopause go through that, but it was a lot. So I was in so much pain. I couldn't meditate. I couldn't do anything. And one day I just started screaming. I said, you without pain, come in here and feel this, and then let me know that it's okay and that I should wait. They managed to find me help. And she could actually see, and we managed to dislodge his wing wherever he was. But I think sometimes they forget how dense this realm is. And I've had sessions
Mhm.
where they were like, oh, we didn't know. I was like, so what I do is I get in their body, feel when they tell you they're in pain and they're feeling, get in their body and then tell me, is that okay? And the first thing spirit or higher self says, oh my goodness, we didn't know, we'll lessen it, we'll lessen it.
Right.
So there's that aspect
Yeah.
of a mismatch of where, you know, it is a little game sometimes to them, but the intensity of the experience to us is that we are in it for real, even if it's only
Right.
6% of our total self in it, right?
Yep. And if at a soul level, the beings, like our guides and angels, if, if they are the types of beings who don't have the range of emotionality that the earth realm offers, the highs, the lows, and the types of challenges that we deal with down here. I mean, that is why the earth realm is such a useful school, right? We come down here to experience um, the variations in the primarily emotional landscape, because as beings who have transcended that, they're not able to experience it directly in the way that the earth realm offers. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm of like going, no, I need you guys to understand the intensity of what we're dealing with. But I've had clients where their higher self, like star beings that they are normally incarnated with, will say, not only did this person need to experience these things, but we needed to experience it through her. So you can be down here dealing with a lot of challenges, and they're like, how interesting. It's like, is this a game to you guys? But it's not a game. It's not to diminish it, but sometimes we do need to really say what help we need, but then be open to the ways in which they do show their support, because they're not just trying to optimize your happiness or your joy on a daily basis. There's a lot else they're trying to achieve in the earth realm. Beyond that, we're a part of it. Spirit is and part of a greater mission to elevate this realm. So I think being open to how they express that support, for me, has been really helpful.
Yeah,
But
I
we must
think
also mention the interference, though, that
interference.
also it's also been distorted to such an extent that it shouldn't have fallen down this far as well. Because then to just say, okay,
Mhm.
we come to learn, but there's also a level of where Earth is so out of alignment that even the
Yeah.
lessons are on the fact that we're destroying the rest of creation as we go as well. So there's that
Mm.
aspect
Mhm.
as well. We have to consider, we have to balance it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
also
it's
have to,
funny
we're here
because
to
I
pull it
was
up. We're here to ascend. So we're here to experience all these things, but we're here to resolve them as well and take them to a higher frequency to forgive and for release and overcome and whatever we have to do to resolve, transmute these energies in various ways within our lives, within the people around us. So we're experiencing it and it is interesting and we're learning something, but the goal is to ascend. So it's to overcome these things. And I think
right.
that's
That is
that's when once you've
exactly,
got to a certain point, you now can experience with joy, but not where I'm currently at, but where
yes.
I'm aiming for,
Mm.
and I think where most of us should be aiming for. Yeah.
Yes, there's this lady on YouTube who channels archangels, right?
Hmm.
And a very, very old video, I think this was maybe 11 or 12 years ago, she uploaded one of her first videos channeling these archangels. And one of the messages, like these archangels would just come and give messages of like hope and encouragement and this and that, and people could engage and write in questions that they wanted her to get feedback on. And one of the feedback was, every week you come up here and you tell us that, we should do all these things and it's all positive and it's all love and light and whatever. But you, Archangel, whoever was on the panel for that week, like, have you incarnated on Earth? Like, do you know what it's like? And when I watched that video, I was like, oh, how dare she, disrespect an archangel like that? Oh my gosh. And I was like, but she's kind of got a point. Like, I assume that archangels just know everything and they are aware of everything and they are super into and have compassion for our experience, but they have not experienced heartbreak or miscarriage or extreme pain or physical pain or whatever it may be. Like, they have not experienced that. So how can you speak from a point of like understanding on that level? Yes, from a higher perspective you can give all the advice and all the love and healing and everything, and we want that give, but from an understanding as I am just like you point of view, that's kind of not possible. But like you said, Leanne, the response to that was in alignment with what you were saying. We are masters of limitation, and not in a bad way. Like, limitation is not a bad way. It's just you've limited your being to have this experience, and you are a master of doing that. So once you understand that you are actually not limited in any way, you've just created these limitations to have this experience, then you can elevate, you can rise above it, you can evolve, you can evolve yourself and others, you can do anything, but you need to first elevate your consciousness, right? Because the consciousness is kind
Exactly.
of,
Yeah. And like
like
Ellen was
Ima was
saying,
saying, it's not about the brain. The mind is
uh-huh.
above it, yes, but even more above that consciousness level. That's where the elevation comes in, and that's where all the changes and the quantum leaps and all these things can take place. So, yeah, I forgot where I was going, but I think I made my point somewhere.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like Ellen was saying, it's so important not to do spiritual bypassing. And that is like when you get into these spaces, it can be easy because you can experience these things, you can access different versions of yourself in other universes and other places and the past and the future and parallel and everywhere else. But there's the version of you here now that has to do the ascension work, like deal with all the density that you put yourself in, release it, figure it out, unravel it, whatever you have to do to it. You have to do that work in order for this version of you to ascend. So you can't escape to other versions of yourself. You have to be here and fix this one, which is hard. Like it is dealing with massive density. It's like you signed up for something probably way more than what you thought it was easy. And when you hear it's like, oh my gosh,
But
never again. And we all have that feeling like never again kind of thing.
yeah,
Because it is way harder than what you think it's going to be, right?
yeah.
And but that's what we're here for, I think.
But I think the beauty is that once you are awake and you start doing the work,
Hmm.
then you're not just, then it's like the soul purpose kicks in.
Yeah.
Like in most of my sessions, I always ask their higher self, or even for mine, I always remind the higher self or the subconscious, like, well, they're awake now, right? So they're in mission right now. So can we then bring the resources that are required? Because now the light bulb is on. Like I had a beautiful session with a client, and I asked their higher self to show her unconditional love from source. And this is when I was still doing probably my first 25. In my inexperience, I was like, oh, this is cool. Then she can transmit this unconditional love to everyone. Is this her mission? And it said actually more. And they were like, before her body felt unconditional love, her higher self had treated that as a failed mission. But now that unconditional love from source had been flooded through her, she was now on mission of what she had come to do. And she was a 10. It's because I feel like, yes, we come in and we experience the pain, but some of us are pure volunteers. I fell into this density to help. I willingly did not come here. I was asked to come here. And I've had clients where they're begging and crying not to come, and they're being told, hey, you need to come because of the mission, because you need to come and rescue people who are here, right? So but part of it is now the unfolding. You go through pain because how do you understand when someone is telling you their pain? How do you understand the depth of that physically without having? Because if I was just like, so how would I feel it to know, you know, what questions do I need to ask in order to release this? Because I know I've had more than 5 operations. And then my awakening started when I started asking, wait a minute, why do you keep on putting me under? Then I realized I'd been negotiating to leave the planet because I was done. And they were like, no, you need to stay. So there is that as well. Like, not everyone is here the same. And not everyone is, and some people awaken, some people remember who they are from the time they're born. And, the materials of these worlds are amazing. But some of us remember through the pain structures we have created to unfold in that way.
Something, Aima, something that you said earlier makes me, it's been kind of echoing my mind for a half hour, but it's connected to all of this. And what we have right now, right in this world are so many people unawakened and their higher selves are losing hope or giving up. And we have all these people in the world who are coming online and becoming conscious, and we're applauding them. And I guess most of us or all of us here are kind of in this middle ground, leaping between worlds a little bit and helping people see and helping people understand, and in ways of negotiating with their higher selves to understand what density it is that they're experiencing here. What is this here that they don't know? And Ellen, what you said about being, is this just a game? It sure does feel sometimes, right? But and I understand that question because it's thinking about it all the time when I'm watching a higher self say, "Oh yeah, well, we just need to know. We need to know what it's like for this child to, for this person as a child to have experienced war." And I'm like, do you understand what that was like? Do you understand like what kind of psychological, all the types of things that basically shut this person down? And now you want to give them messages, but they can't hear you. So it's a really interesting situation to be in, that we're ready, and many people are, and they just don't know how. And then there's this other realm of people that they're still trying to find that way, right? What do we do? How do we help those people that haven't even recognized that there's a place to find the connection to become consciousness? What do we do to help them become conscious?
Lead by example.
Mhm. And this is 100% Aiden. And Amira, this is where I again want to give you props for allowing this book to be choreographed and guided through you from the spirit realms, because I think spirit is going to lead people to the book and to specific chapters and specific paragraphs and words, because it's going to light up frequencies in them based on where they are at the moment. And there's no judgment. It's not like there's an end to any of this. It never ends. There's no deadline. You don't even have to have it all before you die, because guess what? You're going to work on it on the other side. So I think we can give everybody some grace, in this evolution process, and especially ourselves. But I think, Amira, your decision to encourage the authors to share their authentic experience, to me, that is genius. And that is what allows people to find themselves in the book anywhere. It's not prescriptive. It's and you encourage people to be vulnerable and authentic. And so we can, in Aiden's example, share this dragon experience really authentically. I'm dying to read that chapter. It sounds like mad. It sounds like you read it in the morning and you could call upon dragon medicine by dinner. How fabulous is that? And each of these is like a portal. Every chapter is a portal to new, for people to bring online and become aware of deeper levels of their medicine. And they don't need to be the same. They never will be, because each of us, our energetic anatomy is different. Each of us is a different energetic expression of God slash source slash all that is, right? And so the breath is the gift. The uniqueness is the gift. And I'm just so grateful for the way this has been defined, and so grateful for the opportunity to learn from each of you.
Thank you, Ellen. And I too am equally grateful. I'm going to take some of the credit, not all. Obviously, you guys deserve all of the credit for actually, answering the call. I was just, the conduit, looking for you guys, finding you and saying, hey, there's a mission, you part of it, come join. So, props to you all for following that guidance. But going back to what my session with Katish was that I mentioned earlier, exactly what you said, Ellen, that some chapter you will read through now, the readers will read through and they'll get it. They'll meet where they are at now and they'll get what they need. And in a few years, they'll pick it up again and they might read another chapter. And that's exactly what they need for that time. And so that is the theme of how this is going to work for the readers who pick up this book. They're going to find themselves where they are at, and they'll continue to find themselves where they're at no matter when they pick the book up, because that's how it was created. And that's how it was created to help people in those different times and spaces when they need what they need. And so, again, let me just say thank you to you guys for showing up today. Thank you for showing up and doing your chapters. Thank you for just being yourselves and expressing yourselves fully and authentically and being on this journey with me and all of us. And I'm super excited for this book, as you all are. And I'll put all the links, the book, everything in the description. Go and get it. It's 99 cents on ebook for volume 1, 2, and 3 until May 26th. So get your copy, give us your feedback, send us your emails, tag us on social media, leave your feedback on Amazon. We love to hear it. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next author panel. But if I don't, I'll see you guys in our next Zoom meeting as a group. And have a wonderful day further. Love you all.
Thank
Bye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
you.
so much.
Thank
Love
you
you
so
guys.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Love
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Is